God made everything fresh. Today, we'll answer the question, why eat fresh? We'll show you 4 easy fresh food dishes, hopefully provoke your own creativity. Stay tuned. I'm MaYa Thornton. Have you prayed yet about your diet? Have you asked God, Lord, how shall I fix my food? What would you have me to put in my body? God has given us food fresh from the garden. It is live. It is natural. And we want to include more of that in our diet. When you open your refrigerator, perhaps, instead of asking, Lord, what should I cook today? Ask, what should I not cook today? Why would we want to eat our food fresh? Well, because it has live enzymes. The enzymatic activity is that which nourishes us. Now, we see this when we look at a potato that's sprouting under our sink, or when we see an onion that continues to grow out of its sprout. How about a carrot top? An elementary school teacher had us take a carrot top, put it in a lid with a little water, and watch it sprout. When it sprouts, we're witnessing the live activity. Now I'm asking you, if I take that carrot top and cook it, can it sprout? If I take a seed and bake it, can it sprout? The answer is no, and that's because I would have destroyed all of the life-giving activity. If I cook it, steam it, fry it, or put it in the microwave, I have destroyed its life-giving activity. There's a Bible scripture I love, Zechariah 9, verses 7 and 17. It speaks of, I will take away the blood from out of his mouth and the abominations from between his teeth. But he who remains, even he shall be for our God. How great is its goodness, and how great its beauty! Grain shall make the young men thrive, and new wine the young women. What this says to me is God has a diet for us, and as we commit to him, we commit to his diet. Those who remain shall be for our God. How great is his goodness and beauty? We'll be revived. Grain shall make the young men thrive. It is God's good grains, God's whole grains, that would nourish ourselves and make us strive. And new wine, the maidens, that's the fresh enzymes, or even the juices that God put into his food. To help us understand the superiority of God's foods, we have a listing that contrasts cooked foods and raw foods. The cooked food can only give 0 to low nutrition. It is God's raw foods that have the higher nutrition. Cooked foods can only offer 0 to low fiber. God's foods have a high fiber content. Cooked foods have no electricity. God's fresh foods are electric. Yes, they are ionic. Did you know that cooked food promotes the acidity, whereas garden foods are alkaline? Many say cooked foods are dead. God's foods are alive. Cooked foods have no oxygen. Our cells need oxygen. Raw foods have oxygen. There are no electrolytes in cooked foods, whereas fresh food has lots of electrolytes. And there are no enzymes in cooked foods. There's lots of enzymes in God's fresh foods, and it is the live enzymes that nourish our cells. I like another scripture. Psalms 103:5 says, God satisfies our mouth with good things, so that our youth is renewed like an eagle. God satisfies our mouth. It is important to him that we enjoy our food. He satisfies our mouth with good things, and our youth is renewed. What does that say? Except that we have rejuvenating power. in our foods. What is it that you want out of your cooked food, out of your raw food? We want the phytonutrients. Do you know that when produce remains on the vine until it is ripe, that God has brought that food to completion? He has kissed it, as it were, with all of his blessed phytonutrients. Now, phytonutrients may be a new word to you. Phyto is Greek. It's spelled P-H-Y-T-O, and it only means food, food-based nutrients. But if our produce is picked green, if that tomato isn't ripe, if those bananas are green, if we pick any produce too soon, then it's missing God's last gift to that fresh produce. Now, people have different motivations for eating fresh food. I like the ones of people who are just open to new foods. Some motivations are for getting the maximum amount of nutrition. That's another good one. Some people never take their diet seriously until they have a medical problem. Their motivations may be remedial or to correct a certain malfunction that's going on in their bodies. Do you know that others turn to fresh food because it has a lot less fat? They have weight management interests. And then finally, some are interested in fresh foods simply because of its energy. Well, in my opinion, all of these motivations are good. Whatever your motivation, welcome aboard towards more fresh food eating. Did you ever think about this? God gave Adam a diet. Now, God created Adam. How soon after creation did God give Adam a diet? Friends, it was before he created Eve. It was before man fell. It was before Adam named the animals. So God gave man, or every individual, a singular responsibility to adhere to his way of taking care of this body temple. It is not a good excuse to say, I'm dependent on what my mother fixed. I'm dependent on what my wife fixed. Before God created Eve, he told Adam what to eat. Before man sinned, he had a diet. In other words, don't just think about healthy eating after you get sick. But if it took you that long to think about it, well, don't punish yourself. Just welcome aboard. How did we slip from thinking highly of God's diet and its importance in our life? In other words, it was the first thing God gave man. Nothing God does is arbitrary, not the sequence of events or anything. And so God made it primary. But today, we tend to think of it with little regard. Another scripture I like is Genesis 1:29. God says, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." Meat. Meat has a different connotation. Oftentimes, people immediately think about animal flesh, but we're going to look at Webster's definition of meat. Webster begins by defining meat as food. Webster says especially the solid food as distinguished from drink. The second part of the first definition is the edible part of something as distinguished from its covering, as a husk or a shell. In other words, if I have a plum, the interior that I eat is the meat of it, as distinguished from the outer part. Or the interior of a nut is the meat of it, as distinguished from its shell. Webster's third definition is animal tissue. considered especially as food. So let's remember that when God says, to you, it shall be for meat, he is referring to every herb-bearing seed. God is saying, that is your sustenance. And we need to remember, it is our best sustenance. When it comes to God's foods and his variety, did you notice the word every herb-bearing food? See, the variety God has given us, we will not get bored as we select from the many greens, the many grains, the many fruits, the many nuts, and the many sprouts. Our first dish today is mango chutney. It would be good if you were in your kitchen and you could make this with me. In the mango, we're going to add 1 cup corn, 1 teaspoon red bell pepper, half a cup of pineapple, 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Cayenne pepper, honey, and spike are to taste. Let's begin. Our mango, you see, is saucy, and I've also allowed for a few chunks. I think you want that texture. So some mangoes are juicy. It doesn't all need to be chunky, but I like the sauciness. We're adding our corn. This is fresh, cut off the cob. When I put the red bell, I choose red because of the color contrast. Now, isn't this pretty? Do you know it'd be pretty if you also put a little mint, parsley, or cilantro in it as well? If your mango doesn't have as much flavor as you'd like it to have, you could add a little pineapple. Our 5 spoons of lemon juice. This is fresh squeezed. You know, I don't use the jarred and bottled lemon. I'm not real sure how many live enzymes are in them. But with the fresh, lemon in your body also serves to cut acidity. And there's nothing that matches the taste of fresh lemon. Now, isn't this pretty? Do you see how quick and easy that is? That's our mango chutney. Our next dish is a couscous. Its ingredients are 1 cup couscous soaked in water, 1/3 cup cilantro, 1/3 cup of dressing, your choice. We have assorted vegetables. We'll add herb seasonings, liquid amino acids, and garlic and onion powder are to taste. I'd like you to see this couscous. It is a grain. You can see it's a bit fluffy. It was soaked in water. The quantity is for 1 cup of couscous, just about 1.5 cups of water. Now, there are other types of couscous. You may buy it in a box, above the rice, by the way, or you may buy it bulk, in which case you might want to double the water. But either way, there's almost no mistake with couscous, because whether it's a nice fluffy grain or even if it were very wet, it wouldn't be an error. There are no mistakes with couscous. So we had a scripture that said, every herb-bearing seed. And couscous is a dish that you can put with just about every food. It's very versatile. Did I mention that couscous is 100% semolina? That's the same thing your spaghetti is. Oh yes, read the side of your spaghetti package. It's 100% semolina. So how versatile is pasta? I want you to know that couscous is just as versatile. Today, we will be adding vegetables and seasonings. I'm going to begin with asparagus. Now, asparagus is a vegetable You may have always thought of steaming or putting in a stir fry, but this way we have it fresh and raw. Would you know that 2 or 3 asparagus raw offer your body far more nutrition than 10 or 15 asparagus cooked? And that is the way it is with most vegetables. We're going to add cilantro. Cilantro is a type of parsley, very flavorful and a nice complement to a lot of dishes. Now look at that, green and white. It's pretty already, but I'm not done. I have 2 colors of bell pepper, red bell pepper, but I'm also adding yellow. Did you know that the red and the yellow bell pepper have no acidity? The green pepper is the acid one. So we're putting in our bell pepper. We'll add onion. And I'll stir it at this point. Now if you're thinking it's a lot of grain, a few herbs, but not a lot of flavor, you're right. Although the bell pepper is sweet and the cilantro has flavor, our flavor is here. I'm using liquid aminos. Just want to put a little bit in. The dressing you choose can be any flavor you like. The flavor that I'm using today is a green garlic dressing. And I'll stir it. We know we're going to add spike seasoning. Spike is a blend of 39 herbs and seasonings. It has a little sea salt. I'll add garlic. This is granulated garlic. And we'll put a sprinkle of onion powder. And I'll mix it again. I can smell it. Now you might want to add other ingredients. Today I have olives. These are both black and green. And I brought a vegetarian imitation bacon bit because I like that flavor too. This is so convenient. If you were having company you didn't expect to have, you could soak your couscous in about a half an hour. And if you really needed to have your dish prepared sooner than that, you could put hot water on it. It's light and it's very tasty. Another scripture I like is Psalms 104:14. It says, "He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth." Herb here means more than a certain category, such as ginseng or yohimbe or dandelion. Herb refers to all of God's vegetation. All of his delicious sprouts and fruits and vegetables, all of God's grains and nuts. All of God's vegetations are in that category called herb. Herb for the service of man. In seminar, I like to ask, what does the word service mean to you? People give me a lot of good answers. The 2 I like the most are service means fix and service means to treat right. Examples. If a repairman shows up at your office, he may say, "Hi, I'm here to service your copier." It means he's here to fix it. Or if you're at a hotel, the one who carries your luggage may give you good service, and you like that, and so you give a tip. But you see, service means to treat you right or to fix you. And when we think of God's nutrition, the vital nutrients that are in His fresh produce, we know that those live enzymes in our bodies will fix us. They bring about healing. It's a blessing to ourselves to receive the fresh live enzymes we get in God's fresh foods. Our next dish is a spinach marinade. Its ingredients are a half a bunch of spinach, fresh, 2 tablespoons of liquid amino acids, garlic to taste, and we'll put about 3 tablespoons of sesame seeds on it. We'll add red bell pepper to garnish. Look at our beautiful leaves today. I think this is California spinach. It doesn't have a lot of crevices. It's very easy to clean, and it's luscious. Just look at the rich color. You know, this is going to bless your body. All we need to do is put our amino acids on it. You want to coat every leaf. You don't need to put too much because your spinach will seem salty. I like to dust a very little bit of garlic on it, just a hint. And I like to be very generous with my sesame seeds. There's no such thing as too many sesame seeds on this spinach marinade. I love it. Now you see how fluffy it's looking? You should know that the spinach will, it won't wilt, but it will, in its moisture, it will settle and it will be much smaller, the way spinach does when you cook it. Doesn't that look good? I love it. We'll just garnish it with red bell pepper. I like color contrast. That's enough. There we have our spinach. Now how easy was that? Our next dish is entirely too easy. This will be a corn marinade. You'll need 2 ears of corn cut off of a cob fresh, about 1/4 cup of dressing, about 1/8 cup of arame, and 1/4 cup of red bell pepper. That's optional. Here's our corn. It will serve about 2 or 3 people. Choose the dressing you like. The dressing I have today, and I believe you'll love it, is Annie's roasted red pepper. It's a vinaigrette. We add dressing. The flavor is in the dressing. And for color contrast, I'm adding arame. Arame is a sea vegetable. You can see that I've already soaked it. Soaking it is not necessary because the dressing is moist. But look at that. I guarantee you'll love it. Look at all this flavor. And you might also add any other herb or vegetable of your choice. Now I have to ask you, how quick was that? It's so quick that I have time to appeal to you. Please regard the time you spend fixing God's fresh foods as time well spent. Don't complain that cutting and chopping and washing vegetables takes time. As a matter of fact, romance your food. Love it. Enjoy its color. Enjoy its textures. On the other hand, if you did not spend time fixing fresh foods, that is, if you only gave your body processed and packaged and canned and jarred, microwave, fast food, food out of a vending machine, your body wouldn't be well nourished, and you would be spending the time nursing a disease. Every headache, every back pain, every inflammation, every lump takes time. The time it takes to realize and admit that you have a condition that needs attention, the time you invest seeking a doctor and a medical opinion, the time you spend in treatment, the time you spend hoping that you'll heal from it, took time. But I would much rather spend the time in God's fresh foods. When we come back, we'll see our finished products. Stay tuned. Today's tasty items were a corn marinade, very easy, and you'll make it delicious with your favorite dressing. We added aramay to it as well. Next, we have a couscous. This is easy. We put a fresh assortment of fresh vegetables on it, and it is generously seasoned. We had spinach, another easy dish topped with sesame seeds, and it's garnished with a red bell pepper. Finally, this delicious mango chutney. To the mango, we added fresh corn, lemon juice, and it is very tasty. God made food fresh. He equipped it with all of its blessed nutrients, phytochemicals, fiber, oxygen. It's the best for your body, and your body will thank you. I encourage you to pray over your diet. Ask God, what should I put into this body temple? He'll lead you in the direction of healing, wholesome foods. And another thing, have a lot of fun. There are no mistakes. If you use an ingredient and you decide you prefer another one, you can either add it or remember to do the dish that way next time. Have a lot of fun, be creative, and join us again